Hey everybody, John Semankiewicz with Beer Law Center. Thought I'd take to the video world and talk about some FAQs or things that we get questioned about on a regular basis. And today I want to talk about a recent change in the law. This came down from the legislature in July, and that is wine and mixed beverages to go. So the new law says that if you have an on-premise permit for beer, wine, or mixed beverages, you can now sell those by the glass to go. So breweries really have always kind of had this because, again, if you have a on-premise permit, that means you can sell for off-premise consumption. Remember, this is important. When we talk about on and off-premise, we're talking about consumption, not about sales. You always have to sell on premises. But if I own a bar and people can buy and drink here at my bar, I can also sell them a can of beer to take home or a bottle of beer to take home. And I can do that with wine. But when I do it to take home like that, it has to be in the original manufacturer's container or package. There are exceptions for things like growlers and stuff like that. But in general, I'm going to hand somebody a 6-pack or of beer, or, oh, you want wine to go? Here's the bottle. Here's the 750 ml bottle, for example, of Sutter Home or something that you're going to take home and sit around the pool and drink. What this new law does, it lets those bars, restaurants, etc. sell it by the glass to go. So what does that mean? That means, again, if I'm a restaurant, I can sell you a glass of wine to go rather than having to sell you a whole bottle. So I can open a bottle, pour it into a glass, into a special container, hand it to you, and you can take that off premise, take it home and consume it. Here's the issues with that. One, it has to be in a container. You can't just hold it in your hands. It's got to be in a container with a secure lid, and the lid has to be designed to prevent consumption without removal of the lid. Right? So you can't have something you just take off, put it back on, and keep walking, right? It's got to be designed so that you take it off and you now know it has been opened, right? So that's the first one. Second bit, the drink can be no more than 24 ounces, right? So you can't go, oh, yeah, I'm just going to sell you a glass of wine. Here's 28 ounces. I'm going to pour 2 bottles of red Cabernet into this. Here's a glass to go. Can't do that. No more than 24 ounces, which is still a pretty big drink. And it has to be provided to the purchaser. Okay, now that's gonna sound weird, but the idea here is I can't go in and buy a drink to go and have you give it to somebody else. I bought it, I have to receive it, right? Otherwise you get things like, okay, crazy Uncle Earl is going to go in and buy a beer to go, and I want you to hand it to my 15-year-old nephew. That's going to get everybody in trouble. Don't do that. So it's got to be, it goes to the purchaser, who again, if you purchase, has to be over 21. There is an exception to that, and that is if you are using a third-party delivery service. Then you can provide it to the third-party delivery service, who will then provide it to the purchaser. But that's the only exception to that. Now, when we get into cocktails to go, things get a little weird. So, beer, I almost always could buy a can to go. It was always in a package, or I get a growler. I can now get a glass of wine to go at any bar around. But if I'm gonna get a mixed beverage, a cocktail to go, right? I want a Jack and Coke. Now I have to be served food with it, right? So I can't just go to a bar and say, I want a Jack and Coke to go. No. It has to be served with food. And I'll be honest, that's one of the questions right now in the regulations is, what is food? Is that like a bag of chips? Is that like one Slim Jim? What is food here? And right now it's unclear. Nobody's really tested it yet. But my gut is, no, it's got to be something substantial. It's got to be a menu item that you've ordered and it are now providing to the purchaser. Here's your club sandwich, order of fries, and here's your Jack and Coke to go. So with mixed beverages, it has to be served with food. And again, if you're going to serve multiples, here's 2 Jack and Cokes to go, they better be served with 2 meals or 2 items of food, right? So that's a little different than just the beer and wine to go that can be sold by the glass, all right? And that doesn't include the issues like common area entertainment permits or social districts. We'll talk about those a different time where you can actually just walk around with your open beverage. But we'll save that for next time. Thanks for watching. Keep watching and catch up with us next time. Thanks.